Welcome, everyone, to another episode of our Delco Nerd Network Rewind Reviews, where we sit down and discuss some of our favorite film franchises of the past, and even some of our favorite directors of the past. On this season, we're talking about a bunch of Chris Nolan movies, going through about, what was it, 6, right? No, I'm sorry, 5 of his films. We're going to do all that. I didn't really address this before, but we were going to do like a bunch of them besides
We were
Dark
going to do
Knight.
pretty much all of them.
And I was like, that's a lot. And I just like... With Harry Potter, I loved doing it, but getting like 7 recording or 8 recording sessions, especially for that together, it was a task.
full-time job.
Yeah, I will give us credit for doing it, but I was like, let's just do 5.
That took us a while.
It did.
We started in like April and didn't finish until like the end of the summer.
For sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have done 3, but I just couldn't pick 3. Like I was like, I can't decide. So here we are. We are talking about Memento. We've already been through Prestige. Today we're talking about Interstellar. Dunkirk will be coming, as well as Tenet. But yes, Interstellar.
Intro us.
I was about to. Okay. It came back. Joining me as always is my co-host, Mr. Anthony the Gooch Ragucci.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying light.
We will, Gooch. We absolutely will. And once again, joining us, Mr. Aris Tzortzatos.
It's good,
That was
man.
terrible.
That was good.
Tzortzatos. All
He's
right.
more Greek than I am.
I'm not. I'm actually incredibly white. I'm like all just the the European guys.
Without my farmer's tan, I'm
You're
pretty
a
white
mutt.
too. You know,
I'm a mutt.
You got some Irish. You got some Italian.
Absolutely.
Trio, a little bit of 3. You know.
There you go. That's what I like. It.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's your third?
I don't know.
German.
Well, there's like German, Irish. Again, my mom's like all the white people in Europe, and then my dad's Italian and Irish.
All the white people.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just we're everything. But yes, today we're here to talk
5 cheese blend. You know.
That's me, trio, a 5 cheese trio blend.
Yeah.
But yes, we're here to talk about Interstellar, gentlemen. Initially released on November 5th, 2014, with a rating of PG-13, a production budget of $165 million, an opening weekend of $47.5 million, with a worldwide box office of $647.8 million.
There it
and
is.
some change.
There it is.
Yeah. So,
I was like that opening weekend was kind of weak, but this is a kind of movie I feel like that like comes out and it's just out for a while. Like I was working at the movie theater this time. Were you there or no?
I don't think so.
That
in
movie was
2014,
just
I
like
going by that.
perpetually like
going
busy.
Yeah.
Like it was just there for a while.
Yeah, I think I might declare this by the end, but I am realizing that Christopher Nolan is my favorite director going through all these. I think.
Wow. Really?
Genuine. Like I love just on a consistent level of like.
He does have a consistency.
I love not Joe Manganiello. He did Logan. Why am I forgetting his name?
Jim Mangold. James
Mangold. He actually he did the latest Indiana Jones, but I really like a lot of his films. I kind of maybe would have said him before, but now I'm like, oh no, I consistently love Christopher Nolan's films. Aside from maybe Tenet, which I can't wait to revisit because I don't think I finished that. I was on like a plane ride too. I was not happy with that movie. But either way, directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Chris and Jonathan Nolan, his brother as well. And the little description for you guys. When Earth becomes uninhabitable in the future, a farmer and ex-NASA pilot, Joseph Cooper, is tasked to pilot a spacecraft along with a team of researchers to find a new planet to call home for the human race.
Apt. We've been pretty good with this one.
This one's been good. Yeah, there hasn't been anything like magical man goes to school and wizard
does
takes care
magic
of him.
things.
Yeah, exactly. It's been good. But, gentlemen, what do we think of Interstellar? It's been a while since I've seen this.
Same.
It's really interesting, I think, how it kind of starts off on Earth and you get the whole background of like, Earth's a shit place. There's dust everywhere. All the crops are going away. How much of that, like, do you haven't seen this, Aris, obviously.
No.
Right. So, like, I guess what were your broad thoughts just in the beginning? You're like,
In the beginning, I mean, eventually they build up to the point in the beginning is that they say it's like they're living on a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
So, and obviously they express that and follow through, throughout the rest of the movie. The callbacks for them. So this isn't as intense as like Prestige
For sure.
and Memento, but they're 2 subtle callbacks. One is the screen like documentary thing that you see in the beginning. You're like, what?
That's an interesting fun fact about that later.
That's our starting at the end.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the end of the timeline, not the end of the movie.
Exactly.
But like I
Yeah.
still like that through line.
But it throws you off in the beginning because you're like, all right, so you know, the movie's called Interstellar, but they fix Earth, I guess, because
Yeah, like, what's
you don't know, you don't connect it yet, and then
No one knows what he's doing.
you know, and you're leading up, you know, in the start of the movie, you start seeing not so much start, maybe a little bit towards the end of the start, I don't know,
Sure.
but like the whole
Bookshelf comes back
bookshelf
around,
thing,
yeah.
the dust with the Morse code and the watch. I mean,
He knows what he's setting up.
yeah. So you're like, okay. So like, there's some subtle things, and like, I guess because we're on a roll watching these, I'm like, all right, this means something. Like, I'm gonna see this later on.
You're keyed in.
Yeah. But I will say the documentary thing kind of threw me off because I was like, well, it's called Interstellar, but like they're talking about like Earth and like how they used to wear stuff with the crop dust and stuff, but you know, but still, that was a pretty good movie. Also, I guess maybe I'll do this before I forget. I didn't rank Prestige.
You were reading my mind.
Dude, thank you, because I totally forgot.
So, Prestige, I rank higher than Memento.
All right.
And then I guess, what is it, 3 within 3 of the rankings?
Yeah. So exactly. So you got film, you got flick, movie, film, and then within that you got high tier, mid tier, low tier.
Okay. So, Prestige film.
Is it a high tier, low tier, mid tier?
I like that movie, and it's weird. So both of these are a tie for me. And
Okay.
I was
All right.
thinking about this on the way
that's
over
fine.
here.
They
No,
can be
that's
the same rank.
I was thinking about this on the way over
Unacceptable, yeah.
here. I mean, Memento, I think I just did like movie. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
sure.
But I think they're both film, like, low tier.
Okay.
But still, like, great. Like,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. For me, definitely. I mean, I gave mine with Prestige, high tier film. This is definitely also a high tier film. Hard to, I think, argue anything against a film.
No,
Where-
I completely agree.
Yeah, like I'm like, this ain't a fucking movie. Like Interstellar
film.
is like, I don't know, it's one of those movies.
it's a
like
film for
everyone,
sure, yeah.
everyone has seen. I feel like Interstellar. Like I feel like a lot of people, like
except for me.
yeah, except for Aris, like that. It's like an institution almost.
Dude,
like,
for sure.
Yeah,
And you know what's really sad to me? I think like most normies and I think most normal people reasonably don't know the directors of most movies they're watching. They just go to see the movie. When you're watching it, like I was watching this with my roommate, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize Nolan did this and this and that." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like you start naming off these films, and people are like, "Oh shit, that's him," and that's kind of sad to me. But I think he's apparently like the third highest grossing film
I believe
director
that.
behind like
Spielberg.
and
Peter Jackson.
no, fuck
Cameron.
Cameron. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's like
it's gotta be
it is
an
so
obvious
funny.
one.
There's only
There's
a couple.
not many, you know, like
Yeah.
with that big of a name.
But yeah,
What are you
top
thinking
3.
with your ranks?
I would say so Prestige, I loved for some reason going back. I think that's got to be a high tier film. This is a mid tier film only because I just enjoyed, like if I'm comparing them, like I just enjoyed Prestige so much more. And even going back and catching those little things, I did enjoy this movie a lot. I think the length is necessary mostly, but you know me with my lengths in movies. Huge.
I do know you with your length.
And not too long, not too short. It's no fun.
Just right.
Just right. But
You don't want it to hurt.
Just as he has, he's got what he's got enough.
He's
know,
got what he's
absolutely.
working with.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd say mid-tier film. I'm happy with whatever comes my way as long as it's not too small or too big. Either way, mid-tier film, I would say for sure. But
Cool.
Gooch, what was like your overall thoughts, I guess?
Yeah, so it's been a while since I've seen this. I think I didn't watch it when it first came out. I don't know why. Sometimes there's those movies that like are really hot that I just
Miss.
not even miss, but just like, yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
I don't really care. I'm not really super into space in general, but I think I saw this movie for the first time maybe like 2016 or 2017.
Right.
And yeah, really enjoyed it. I was like, okay, this is the hype. I get it. And I like kind of completely forgot this movie. So like watching it again, it's like I know what happens. Like with the
Broad
room
strokes.
and the bookshelf and the watch. Like I remember all that, but like I don't really remember the in between. Like I don't remember anything about like the Dr. Mann portion or my cocaine lying.
Why does he sound South African when you say it?
My cocaine.
He's like choking on something
Yeah,
too.
like I don't remember that whole thing. Obviously, I remember like we see Murph and Tom Grow, young Timothy Chalamet.
I know, I was going to
Timothée
shout him out.
Chalamet.
Yeah, Timothy Shea.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, there he is.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
that was like one of his first roles, apparently.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty small role, so
For
it,
sure.
it makes
Yeah,
sense.
He's only in it for like a scene or two.
a little more than that. He's in like the first 30 minutes.
Sporadically, for
40
sure.
minutes.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound dumb. Is he the first dude that?
He's the young. He's the
Tom.
son. Yeah, he's the
Okay.
son that he's his son, McConaughey's son. Before
I feel
he
like
leaves.
if
when he's still young,
yeah,
when he's still a
Timothy
teenager.
Chalamet's
okay.
in Dune, like he's
Never
in a
mind.
lot of like artsy films too. Like
Sure.
when he started getting big,
It
like
was like that Bones and All movie that
is he
came
in
out too.
what is it? Little Women?
Pretty Woman?
No.
No.
Little Miss
Little Women.
Sunshine.
Little Bird. Little
No,
Bird.
that's Lady Bird.
Lady Bird. That's what
I
he's
think
in.
it's I think it's Little Women.
There's Pretty Woman. Obviously, that's like an old movie.
We do have a laptop. Just saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you want to look up Timothy Chalamet's filmography. But yeah, I was just like pleasantly surprised. I'm like, fuck, like I just didn't remember a lot, and I feel like this movie I feel like it's almost a good to watch it every few years so you can forget and then go back in, even though you know things, and maybe like every time you rewatch it you remember something, and then obviously you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna know the whole film. But it really, going back after years of not watching it, was a great experience.
I mean, I will like a heavy theme is with his movies just seem to be rewatchability and like just go, and I think we've talked about it before,
Yeah.
but like I'm gonna go back and I'm catching all again. Prestige was that for me majorly, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I think in regards to the length, I think at the end it kind of between like when Dr. Mann betrays them and to the room is kind of like where the film is like it's stretched a
opening up.
little bit.
It's so funny. I forgot there was so much once he gets found.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
did too. I thought he was like, oh, he gets found and he comes out of the hospital room and then he
he
goes
talks-
right into the other hospital room.
And then
I'm
that's
like,
it,
Oh
yeah.
no, there's a little bit here, even though it's not a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, really enjoyed revisiting. True. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I had a fantastic time with this. I think Nolan, his biggest strength is in his sets for me in a degree. Like I always feel like we're actually in his movie. Like I never feel like we're on a fake thing somewhere.
Tars and Case are definitely practical.
I'm gonna get into
They're
that later.
not CGI
So
in the
like
slightest.
for certain
fucking
scenes
guys.
when they're like rolling, like when he's like rolling through the water planet and stuff like that. That's
That's
CG.
CGI.
He's like,
Yeah.
dude, look at him go.
No, it's cool. It's literally like, I mean, we'll get into it a little bit more later. I'll talk, but this was one like there are people behind them. Like there's like guys in green screens like on their backs that are like moving the arms and
Yeah.
stuff like that get comped out. So yeah, no, they are practical. I think this whole set design, the design of just costumes in this movie, the different kind of NASA like tech that's kind of like
We're gonna
an
say
evolution on
NASA punk.
NASA
at
for
Starfield.
sure. Yeah, definitely. Like that's kind of evolved from what we see now, and the whole idea of Earth just being like, well, we just need to kind of figure it out. We're not worried about engineers and scientists right now. We need farmers to make sure our food gets done. And like that whole scene at the beginning with his teacher kind of confused me, where he's like, they're like, yeah, she was reading the textbook that like, you know, was old and it doesn't say that the moon landing was faked. And then he's like, what are you talking about? That part
Yeah.
kind of confused me because I was like, does she believe that it's like fake, but he knows it's not? Like, it was just weird that like the
Like
school
something's
would
missing,
be
yeah.
teaching that.
I think the idea behind it was they're trying to save their own planet, not go somewhere else.
So they don't. So
the idea that the society would be instilled by the, I guess, nostalgia and
the want to go to the star,
the
yeah.
legends of, you know, the
moon
space
landing.
race.
Yeah.
What would sort of make the public call for that?
No, I think
think?
you're right. Now that you're saying that, that makes total sense. Like they're trying to. You see it with
Suppress
Chalamet.
information.
He's like, or his son's character. They're like,
Tim.
he can be a farmer, and he's like, what? And they're like, no, that's what he can be. That's what he tested for. He's a freshman in high school, but he's going to
Reminds
be a
me
farmer.
of the what's the test in Fallout they take in the vault?
Oh yeah. Like
Not the GEC.
I know what you're talking about. It's not the
the-
vaults. It's like it's an acronym,
Is it
right?
GOAT? Yeah, the GOAT.
Yeah, the goat.
Yeah,
But I just think it's interesting that I think you're right, Gooch. The idea is they're trying to push kids away. They don't want people to dream about being a space explorer. They want you to dream about being a farmer,
Farmer,
saving
yeah.
the
saving
earth.
the planet. Yeah.
And I like the idea that NASA has had to like go underground to be like, listen, no one wants to spend money on going to space right now. But guess what? This is all we got. Like we're gonna die here in the next couple months,
If we don't
or
do
the next
something.
couple years.
Right.
Like yeah, we need to get out. Like our place is among the stars now. We got to get out there in the star field, if you will. But yeah, man, I really thoroughly enjoyed watching this. I said it earlier. I think it was a bit long in the tooth, but you know what, Nolan, I'll allow it. I'll allow it for you.
I I did want to jump off your point about talking about like what we see of Earth,
Please,
because
yeah.
it's pretty. I guess I don't know what year we're in. We're never.
I
really,
think it's 2065. I looked it up.
Yeah,
Let me
we're
see.
never like told, and I guess so.
Yeah, you really aren't.
The moon landings would be 100 years in the past, which is
Well, not like 80 at that. If it's 2060, it was. Oh no, wait, it was
No.
80.
We
When
went to
was
the moon in the 60s.
Yeah.
Oh, we did 69. Right.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, it was a while ago.
You don't remember,
well,
dude?
it's
Which
fake.
textbook are you
Yeah.
reading that? of?
Yeah.
Well, it is fake anyway. So no, I'm
See,
kidding.
the idea that I feel like I could live in this world. Like nothing's really futuristic about
It's not
really
drastic.
anything.
Yeah.
There's no like even in the spaceships and the design of the space suits, even TARS. Like TARS, was like some sort of military robot.
Yeah,
but
that
like
they repurposed,
He's just
yeah.
like 4 blocks. Like put together, and it's
And
like
he's a full AI apparently.
right. And
Yeah.
Which they kind of just go by.
I did really think about why he sounds exactly like we're talking.
Yeah.
And I think it's to almost make him like a human
No, for sure.
Right,
Like,
yeah, for
to-
comfort.
for comfort, but also like we're gonna treat him as a member of the crew, and like him talking like an AI or like it would stereotypically talk probably will break that
No, for sure.
illusion.
It makes people feel less comfortable. There's actually a point in Alien, the Alien films, like where they talk about how like the androids at the beginning of that, they're like very human-like, and then like throughout it, they start talking about like how they're downgrading them to make them less. Because people are like, this is weird. I don't like this. Make them more robotic, like so that
Right.
I feel more. So this is actually kind of like almost the opposite of like. I think since they don't look like a human, they're obviously a black man. Having them talk like a human and like have that more human quality is for sure, I think, on point. But TARS they're really cool. I like they're based off of like NASA designs apparently too.
Huh.
But yeah, I had another point I wanted to go to and I just lost it on the TARS tangent. What was there anything else, Gooch?
No, I mean just to that point. Yeah, I think the aesthetic design was like interesting choice. I don't know. If you
No,
have anything
definitely.
No, yeah, I think it was great. I mean, and TARS didn't look like or Case or any of them didn't look like Marty from Giant or anything. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they looked like very applicable. Everything they did, their movements too. I know it was CGI, but it was
No,
like,
of course.
it was very fluid though. You know?
Definitely. And again, it looks like something that we could develop in
Soon.
60
right.
years.
I'm like this.
Yeah.
I'm like this doesn't look too out of the wheelhouse.
No,
Yeah.
for sure, and I think
Yeah.
that was-
nothing did. Like
No,
not a
definitely.
single thing.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
And one thing I really liked about TARS, like I think he's used very well in humorous ways. And I think
75%, please.
I was crying laughing at some of that, but
Yeah,
like
it's
I
funny.
think Nolan really injects humor into his movies in like a way that just is amazing. Like and
Maybe Marvel should take a few notes.
for sure. And I think in a way that works, like that doesn't diffuse the scene, but
Right.
it provides some levity because there's like
it's
one
natural.
There's one part where it's like right when he's leaving his daughter and he's like driving away. It's a very emotional scene. I was crying. I'm not gonna lie, it got me. And then we cut like to the next scene, and they're just they're in the spaceship. They're getting ready
Right,
to take off.
right.
And TARS has this whole back and forth with him, and it's when he's talking about his humor setting. And like I went from like crying to like laughing in the
Yeah.
moment, and I'm like, that's fucking wild. It's a really cool thing to do, and I think that's very hard to do, to transition away from something that like emotionally, touching to just like something with levity.
Yeah, and you do connect with the character more than AI because I mean, at one point, I don't know how far we can
We
go.
can
with-
just now
So,
wherever you
let
want.
it
Yeah,
rip.
we're not.
I mean,
Yeah, let it rip.
like when they have to drop off the weight, so to speak, like
Yeah.
on that last launch, like you're like, oh, like they're letting
TARS,
go. Like,
yeah.
yeah, dude. Or was Case first, or was it TARS?
No, Case is
Case, I think, doesn't show up until the water world.
no. Where
when
is
they
Case
do
at
the
the end?
launch.
He's in the
He's in the ship. He's with
Brand.
Brand. Yes, yeah.
TARS is
TARS is the one
is
they
in
drop
his
into
own.
the black hole.
And he's the one
That
still
comes out with
talking to-
so
okay,
he remember
yeah.
he's fixing him at the end.
That's right. That's
because
right.
they
that's
found
right,
him
that's
too.
Right. But like you start to. I mean, before it unfolds, you actually start to feel for him, even though they were just like robots.
Right,
Like,
and he even says he's like, yeah, and he's like, TARS is gonna go black hole, and Brand's like, we can't do that to TARS, and he's like, well, I just told him to do it, so he's gonna do
yeah.
it.
Well, he's a robot. He has to.
The sarcasm light was great. Again,
Yeah,
it was so good.
Yeah,
It's a good touch.
I thought that it was very interesting. We didn't really get much. It just went from like, all right, he's on Earth, we're going.
and
we're
we
in the
get-
spaceship
don't
and we're
forget,
going out.
I really think, and we'll see this in Tenet, for sure.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan likes to use Michael Caine as an exposition character. He
For
just
sure.
dumps
We should talk about him, yeah.
plot like he does it in Tenet. or sorry, in in Tenet, but he does it in The Prestige. Like he's narrating, he's talking a lot about the world that's going on.
No,
and, like,
definitely.
Michael Caine, Dr. Brand is introduced as like, now I'm going to explain everything.
Yeah.
And then the movie's going to kind of go from here.
And it is interesting how we just like, again, it all kind of ties back around. I totally forgot how he finds the NASA base and like why he goes there. A lot of the Earth stuff I did forget. And yeah, Brand's character, the idea of like, he's like, all right, this whole place is a space station. We're trying to get it out. Plan A. You're going to go up, though, and set up a colony just in case. And I really did not see... I totally forgot about, like, his confession by the middle of, like, no, Plan A's bullshit. We just needed your dad to go because we needed a good pilot. And he was here. But it's kind of weird to me.
He is very conveniently there.
But that's what I mean. Like, if he's the only pilot that could do it,
like,
why didn't you reach out to him before
well,
this?
and he's like,
right,
he said something. You think I was dead? I was like, why would they think you were dead?
Oh, that's right. He does mention that.
I'm like, what? But what does that mean? You know, like.
Well, it
why?
seems like the governments of the world at this point are very disorganized and like just trying to focus on keeping people
Surviving,
alive. Like
yeah.
war is apparently extinct. All countries are too focused on
No armies, no military.
armies, no military, stuff like that. So again, like kind of interesting points. And very, I think, different from what we see in a lot of sci-fi movies.
Yeah, like when they get the drone, like he mentions that the drone is just not doing anything, but it's just
he's
flying.
like it's left over from the it goes off of solar energy, so it just will go and go and go, and he like hacks it. Yeah, another interesting.
I thought that whole scene was a little weird. I'm like, are we hacking it?
No,
Yeah.
this is
And what you do? Put it on the tractor, right?
when he puts. I think he's like, I'm gonna use the energy cells off it or something
farm.
like that for the farm, like for the tractors and things. So
yeah, but somehow he gets his fucking thing in his truck.
well, he does. He disassembles it. But
It's fucking huge.
so yeah, now
It's a tough truck, man.
It is a tough truck.
Heavy.
Absolutely. I mean, I
Oh,
couldn't even
and on
imagine.
a flat.
Yeah, that would be insane. He got it in with his son.
Dodge
Stress-
Dolly, man. Go out and buy one, dude.
Yeah.
Cummins engine.
So we get to space. We're out there with them, and I can't help but speak about the sets, the design of the spaceships they're on, and like even that like second one by the end, the second lander that drops off. It's like so blocky and weird. I'm like, I don't know how this would fly, but I'm like, why aren't you just taking that down to each planet? But then they kind of explain it through. I do think most of this is pretty well thought out, and he did very heavily focus on like the scientific aspect of it while filming this. I think that's pretty well known. But what did you think about like the whole time slippage scene? Like when they go down to the water world, I was incredibly mad at Brand because I'm like, what are you doing? Like
the
what?
1 hour versus however many years.
That was a very interesting idea to explore.
When they introduce that, like I feel like it's like I know this happens, so
Sure.
it's like, but it's immediately like a visceral reaction, like, oh my god, like you're losing 7 years in an hour.
Per
Yeah.
hour, yeah.
Like the thought of
It's like
it,
a dog, really.
The thought of it is like absolutely reeling,
Terrifying.
Like you know when they say it, and like I literally had I'm watching it alone, and I had a visceral like audible reaction, like oh my god,
Like, that would be terrible.
Could you fucking imagine that?
And again, Matt McConaughey is like, I don't want to go down there. We can go to the next one. There's no, and then they're like, no, you asshole. We know you want to get back to your family. We need to go down and check this out. And he's like, comes up with this whole idea of going around the like
Slingshot.
slip it. Yeah, well, he goes around, and then they take the lander down, and then it's just this big water world. And Brand's like, I need to get that data. Why?
Because that's what they went there for.
No, I know, but like at that
So
point,
they have to make the 7 years lost worth something, which
I
in
guess
the
that's
end,
fair,
The
but-
23 years they spent there
Was
was not
not
worth
it at all.
And they lost dude from the Hunger Games.
yeah, and
forget
also
his
from
name.
Yellow. I think that's the guy from Yellowstone too. Maybe it's not. But yeah, he sacrifices himself. He's like Tars go get her.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny to see like Brand have make a lot of emotional decisions like through this whole movie. By the way, Anne Hathaway, fucking great actor. In
Fantastic.
This. And the whole cast of this movie is
100%.
fucking phenomenal. But to see like, especially Chris Nolan use her as, you know, Selena Kyle Catwoman in The Dark Knight, like two totally different characters. But then to see like, remember like fucking The Princess Diaries where she's like her career started, like she's
awesome.
She's a very like diverse actress, and she's not in a whole bunch.
Definitely.
But yeah, so she wants to get the data, and then with Edmund's planet, like she was like liked him or something.
So she's like, that's kind
and
of
Cooper's
yeah.
just like, fucking tell him,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, and like clearly like she's choosing that planet for an emotional reason, and that's kind of like dissuades them.
Well, and I think also Cooper, it's fast if they go to man's planet. It's faster, and they waste less energy, so he can actually make the return.
And he's
back.
sending
And
the
they
thumbs
found
up.
signal, yeah. So
which was a lie, which is wild because man, as well is making like
like a very emotional decision.
It seems like NASA did not think about the emotional
torment,
but like the what's the word I'm looking for? The emotional like degradation of people. Like, how did you like?
Well, I
would
would
you
have
really
brought
think?
a gun. Just in case, because I mean, they talk about it at the beginning. I forgot about that setup. They send 10 years earlier. They sent out 10 explorers, 12 explorers through the black hole to this new solar system to check out planets. And if it was no good, you were just that's it. You were going to stay there and die. The idea was they knew that
you
going
weren't
in.
coming back.
Yeah, and then man, that little bitch. Apologies.
I was like, did you say that?
I will never like Matt Damon ever again.
He plays the asshole incredibly well in this. Like,
And,
Yeah,
and
he
I
does,
forgot
he
he was
does.
man. Like I was saying, but like before we started, like I'm like, I don't know who's coming out of this thing. Like what actor this is.
That's really
I'm
good.
like, oh, it's Matt Damon. Of course it is.
And they do hide it very well too. I mean, I was saying this earlier, but like they show his face, but they pull out so you can't really see who it is. I wonder why he kept that such a secret. I mean, it makes sense.
It's Matt Damon. That's why.
Yeah, I guess so. That's true. I did read it somewhere online that he was kept like out of most of the like marketing materials too.
I mean, I think it's a big spoiler to be like, oh, Matt Damon's in this in the movie.
Where is he?
See,
Right.
I don't think that's I mean, I think having an actor in a movie isn't necessarily the spoiler to me. It's like what the character is doing. But still, no, I think it is. It's more powerful, and it's cool that you totally forgot that. Again, I remember like the broad strokes of this movie. I remember he got to NASA and went to space. They had the time dilation thing, and then they go to the next planet. But at that point, when they come back up from the fucking time dilated planet, and like the dude's just waiting there in like his PJs, just looking so rough. Rom.
Yeah.
like-
I didn't think you guys were coming back.
He's like, I thought you guys were fucked. And I don't know why. I had like a vivid memory of him like killing himself because he got space madness and was like, I can't do this anymore. But that's not what happens. He gets blown up by like the man's machine, by man's TARS.
Yeah,
So,
it was
like,
set up.
I think he like broke it down so that it wouldn't stop him from like, I guess,
Correct.
doing this, right?
Yeah.
From
'Cause-
making the all thumbs up scene. Yeah.
Right. Because I was thinking, I'm like, well, he has the data. That's the real data.
That's right. Because that's when
and I guess he wouldn't, if there was some sort of compromise with man that, I forget what his robot's name is,
I can't remember either.
but
yeah.
he would not let him do it.
For sure.
I guess is really what it is. So he deactivates him, but I guess he's there enough to like have I'm trying to forget like what he says because he's like, oh no, fuck him, leave him.
He's
there.
like,
He needs
oh,
the
his-
human
he-
touch.
I think he said his his power cells are dead, but like there's still some data in there. He's like, I can get the data off him, and then he's like, okay, just be careful or something. Like, and I guess he like rigged it to explode, like
Yeah.
if someone accesses it.
Yeah.
So
Like a fail safe.
yeah,
And then
what an
Tars
absolute
just
jerk off.
fucking comes wheeling out. Like,
It is
geez,
so funny.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Another thing I wanted to mention was the space travel and the cryo freeze. That would be fucking terrible. You're getting vacuum sealed to just
Yeah, in a
go
bag.
in a wet bag to
Sous
just
vide.
sit there for a year.
Yeah, so and they originally the whole crew goes in for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they come out, which I guess isn't terrible.
No, it's not. It's funny. You don't realize like how many time jumps kind of happen within this. I think it's more apparent, obviously, than like the Prestige was for sure. But yeah, I thought that was incredible.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
What do you
Because they really the film is pretty linear, but they're
They're jumping
They are
time,
time
but like it
jumping.
does
Yeah,
but
feel
it's
very
not-
much.
it's not disjointed.
You don't feel
No.
it really
It's-
until Murph is older. I
where you're
feel
like, yeah, and
Yeah,
then
the
there's Casey
videos come
Affleck
in
as,
and
as
stuff.
Tom.
Yeah, I did also want to speak about this, like him watching all the videos, like
Yeah.
after those 23 years. Fucking wild. Like that would be terrifying.
Yeah, so
Right.
what did you think of that?
Yeah.
Because this is your first time watching it. That's like the emotional part
Yeah,
of the movie.
one, the famous meme. I was like,
Yeah.
because I've
There
never
it
seen the
is.
movie. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, he's just sitting there like, all the tears are
Yeah.
coming in. And then I was like, dude, imagine like how much this dude's missed. So I feel like out of all the time jumps, that's where it hit the most significant, where like you felt it. Because one, they come back from the planet that's like 7 years to an hour or whatever.
They were there for 27,
But
23.
But yeah, then to finally hear from his daughter, it's like, all right. And of course, this is a movie you have to like go back and watch it. Like, all right, there's some connection now, like with the bookcase and everything, and the Morse code and blah blah. But that was definitely the most significant time jump that you actually felt, because you're right, everything else was a little more flawless.
Right, because nothing's
Yeah.
really. I mean, you see the Romley, is that it?
They call him Rom, ROM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he ages, but not significantly. So you're not really seeing the time jump within the
Well,
main
it's fun. I
cast.
guess like he goes from what, probably like 30s to 50s is the idea, right? And Michael Caine lasted a while. He looked old.
Yeah, I know. He was old to begin with.
And then
Yeah.
he made 23 years.
Yeah.
But no, I think you're completely right. Like it's that perfect connector that makes it not feel disjointed. Yeah, his son, when he's like going like, I'm just stopping. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
done.
was like, oh,
I gotta let
fuck.
go.
He gave up.
Like
man.
that's so
Yeah,
tough.
yeah,
And
no,
then
he
like
did.
his
He
daughter,
gave up.
the daughter then coming on and being like, I'm your age. Where the fuck are you? And then her going through the whole dispel of like, did he know? That was an interesting reveal of like, she didn't know if he knew like that he was just going away forever. I don't know. What did you guys think about that? Like, did you think like that was like I don't know. I would think that she would know that he didn't know that, but I don't know.
It's tough. I don't know. You're touching on somebody's deathbed.
No, it's
you
true.
know?
Yeah.
So, because he also
know.
brings up the point where it was like, well, if he would have told him he wasn't coming back,
I think
would he have gone?
I would think he's pretty confident that he's coming back. You know,
That's what I would think too,
He
yeah.
believes he is like genuine. I mean, and he does.
Like in that situation for
like
sure.
yeah, and then you find out that like yeah, that wasn't the case, and you know, it's funny because it's like you know, he says that on his deathbed, so it's like 100% true.
Yeah.
Like people usually don't lie like when they're dying.
He does. Yeah, he's like I feel incredibly
I'm on my
guilty.
way out anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, I'm gonna spill the deets. And her crying in that message, Jessica Chastain, holy shit. Like
She's great.
Like that cry was like felt like a really visceral, emotional, like overwhelming cry. Like it was pretty like I like felt that. I was like, wow, damn. I'm like, this is good acting. And you know, and then she's like, you know, hey, Dr. Brand, your dad's dead. Sorry. And then like gets mad about it. You know, it's funny.
No,
like the way she decides to like. It's interesting that they let her do that. Or maybe she just decided.
Well, I think she's like the head because she's like that new head person because she's been working on him with the I guess not like head person, but like
She
probably
doesn't-
very well respected.
I think, yeah. I don't know. She doesn't seem like she's that head of anything. To be
well, I mean,
quite
she's
honest.
helping him run all the equations and stuff.
Right,
Is the idea and things like that.
but
She
like-
seems like at least his right hand woman, if you will.
Sure.
I mean, the way she called,
But like,
calls,
you know,
he calls
clearly
for her.
after she figures out, you know, the messages and stuff, that's when I think her acclaim kind of like comes into the picture. But,
100% with everyone, and I don't know if she doesn't tell everyone that it's bullshit by that time. I don't think because she's having the conversation with Topher Grace in the car, and he's like, "You got to tell people."
it's Eddie Brock, man. It's Venom.
So yeah, that's all going on, and then we're back in Man's thing. That whole scene of him trying to attach the fucking the thing to the spaceship, I'm like, I can't remember what happens.
lot of
the
tension.
docking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imperfect.
What did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, you that was one of the first things you said was about the whole Dr. Man stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, I already mentioned he's an asshole, but like, no, I think like that would have kind of given you the clips, but you know the movie can't be over then. You know what I mean? So now I was thinking like, dude, if they can't get back, like the whole point of like finding Matt Damon, I was like, oh, there's hope. Maybe there's a connection, dude. None of that. And I'm like thinking. Like, while all this is happening, I was like, dude, is he going to, like, mess him up? Are they going to stop him? Are they going to figure out something? Dude, it literally just blows up. And I'm like, all right, dude. What?
And I love, like, their scene when they first go up into space and the absolute absence of sound.
Yeah.
And, like, you hear, like, the rustling and, like, you know, they're breathing and they're talking, but it's so clear because there's no other sound. And that happens when the explosion, like, we see the explosion from space and there's
And it
just
sucks. Well, that's
nothing.
you hear like the beginning second, and then all the air just goes out.
Pushes out,
and it's
yeah.
just, and I love how it's in the middle. He's like giving Dr. what Brand's like quote, and he's like, "You'll have to understand this is what we," and just like it's
done.
Like so anticlimactic, but not
compromised, emotionally compromised.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. It is crazy how like did they not think these people would eventually go nuts and
Well,
like,
no, I think
do
the-
anything to save
I
themselves?
think the idea was you were accepting the
Your
fact
fate,
that you
yeah.
were gonna die
in a perfect world.
Of
sure.
course, but like you can't account for like sure, like how else, you know, how can you account for that besides just having the person be like, Yeah, I'm good. I'm willing
Yeah.
to make that sacrifice. And he even says it. He's like, I thought I could do it. I thought I was able to.
Like, and you don't understand what it's like to see a person after this long.
yeah, and I'm like, but you had the robot. I know it's not a human, but like it's not like
it's the face, dude.
It's not
Well,
like
he
it's
lost the
what's his name
robot.
from. No, I know, but that's because I think he broke it down. To make these calls back.
He's
And
like,
I
I got
assume that
real
was
quick.
probably pretty early.
Yeah, I would guess so. And he said he's like, I went to sleep and I didn't set a wake time. Like I just was gonna, hope someone
Wing
came.
it.
Again, I would bring a gun, personally.
Do they have guns in this world?
What if you
I think so.
prematurely though use the gun?
Well, that's what you don't. It's like when you're at that point, you're sitting there like, well, no one's gonna come.
Like when they're fighting, and like I think it's actually better that they don't have a weapon and they're like kind of beating each other.
Oh,
up.
for sure.
And then he decides he's like, I'm just gonna headbutt his mask.
And then I love-
he's like, do not fucking do this.
Well,
I'm
Like, I got nothing to lose.
And it was funny though at the moment. I'm like, why would he do this? He's gonna break his own helmet too. And I
Doesn't
appreciate
matter.
that Matt McConaughey. He's like Cooper says like, there's like a 50% chance you break mine. He's like, it's better odds than I've had the whole time I've been here. And then he just keeps fucking doing it. I'm like,
And it zooms out and you see them tumbling. I'm like, dude, this is like, I don't know why. I thought that fight scene was a little funny.
No, it
You
was.
know,
It's
It's
just
just like
'cause these two
watching
men
people
and-
tumbling.
It's
you know?
very physical, and then the gravity,
Absolutely.
of the planet. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because they clearly like they're not beating each other up
No.
by any means. They're just like
'Cause they're still
kinda
wearing suits.
tussling around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward. Clearly, I think it was probably by design, but
Absolutely.
I do understand the
Yeah.
sentiment of it being goofy.
I did think it was an amazing set piece of them trying to reattach as it was spinning too and falling in orbit. Oh,
Yeah.
and he's like,
Yeah. I
is it
forgot about
just?
that.
I totally did too.
Yeah.
It had my fucking. I knew they were gonna be fine, but even in the moment, I was like, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna be good?
Yeah, you
But,
think that's why Michael Caine wanted a real pilot? Because remember, the robots were
100%.
like, no, we can't do it. Like, TARS I guess
like, I don't think
Case
that's
was
possible.
still at
Yeah.
the time there.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, we're not doing it.
Is that what he says? Is that why they needed a human pilot?
No, but
No,
I'm saying
no,
that's my guess.
Oh
like,
well, and 100%. I think it.
Thank
yeah.
God.
Yeah,
And I think
definitely evidence backed with
Yeah.
that because, like, I don't think an AI or an inexperienced pilot could have done
For sure.
what Cooper did.
And I think they
Good-
set
good
it up
catch.
in this
I didn't even think about that.
for sure. And I think they do set it up in this way of like the robots are advanced in this, but not advanced enough to pilot your ship. Like
Right.
through these types.
And
you
I
still
do
need
like
that
how
human
he
touch.
helps with the airlock. Like
It is fun. Again, I like
his
how
little
his
arms.
blocks like block out of each other. They like roll out and it becomes smaller. Great stuff. Great design on TARS.
it's like the Russian dolls. They keep getting smaller. The
Mm-hmm.
arms, they extend. But yeah,
Yeah,
And-
like he lifts up Brandon and he's fucking like coming
exactly.
back
So
to the ship.
funny. Yeah, he's holding it, but it's like rolling.
Let me go back to that water planet real quick. That planet is like wild. Because it's
insane.
like it's interesting that like imagine it's an entire planet of like
Tsunami waves.
ankle deep water.
That's just
and then
constant tsunami,
you
yeah.
have these just tsunami waves that not even like they don't even crash. They just kind of
They just keep
lap,
going.
move.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just lap around the
yeah,
world.
like what a wild concept. Like that's like
The planet design. This
there-
was cool.
I don't think there's like any like huge bodies of water on this planet that are really like that.
No,
like, where it's
absolutely
like
not.
ankle deep, but like for like miles.
Yeah, I think Outer Banks it gets pretty. It gets pretty. Gets like ankle deep for a long time, but I don't think nearly like, of course, on that.
Right,
But still,
right,
that,
right, just
I
like-
think all the planetary like design in this was cool. Even like Damon's planet, Man's planet. When you get there, it's like they're like beneath the crust. Like,
yeah,
what's
because
going on?
Oh, I
the
figured they
data's
were-
in the surface.
They are on top of like the crust isn't the planet, like the
They're on the
surface is
ice,
like
yeah.
below it.
Interesting, but
Yeah.
again, but
'Cause
I
he
don't
said
think that
ice
is there
clouds.
because by the end he's
Yeah.
like, there is no surface. He's like, I lied. There's
Right.
no surface.
Right.
This is all there is.
The planet's crust is like uninhabitable, but I guess like the mantle coming back to school here, the mantle of the planet is hollow or like I guess just can't like isn't fertile, obviously.
Incredibly cool visuals on it. Yeah, for sure. Yes, so now we're in space and we're about to enter or slingshot around a black hole. It's funny, I was forgetting how he gets like in the black hole, but then you realize they have to drop the weight and he stays on it for some reason.
Yeah, I forget the fact that they when they first come out of cryosleep and they see the black hole, which is like interesting. It's like they're looking at it, and they're like, it like off the jump, they're like, somebody put this here. This is like a man-made.
Black hole.
No, I thought that was the wormhole.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is a man-made wormhole.
But the black hole's different from the
Yes,
wormhole.
yeah, I know, sorry.
No, it's all right.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, the wormhole. When they see the wormhole, and they're like there's not a doubt in their minds that like this isn't like a naturally occurring thing. Like somebody put this here. Like I'm like
They think
I'm
it's
like
like
I don't remember
a fourth
any,
dimensional being.
any alien conversation in this movie, but it's very slight and like
Well, it's slight, but also
and
not. I mean,
this
they
is
talk
what
about
kind of
so much.
reminds me of like Starfield, like the planets being like
You
these-
have no idea. But
Yeah.
continue.
I don't.
Ruin it.
Like with like, I'm like, because like in Starfield, like there's clearly some sort of alien thing going on. I don't know that just yet, but like just from like the trailers and like the artifacts that you're finding, and with this, it's like they're finding planets that are just like no life, and if there is any, it's not they're not finding humans or alien species. They're just like flora and fauna, and it's not. I don't know. They're just like barren wastelands.
Well, and that's so they
planets.
can get like some data through the black hole or the wormhole you find out at the beginning, but they need to send these people to check it out. And I think the idea was like they're like, well, there must be at least one because in this solar system, because why would they put a wormhole here for us?
Right.
And
Right.
these fourth
I
dimensional.
think they're
beings,
fifth dimensional.
fifth-
They
yeah,
do
but-
say fifth dimensional through
but,
gravity.
Yeah.
Because
they
is
can
time, right?
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
can just if they can see
So
time
and,
as
and
a
the
as a
fifth
phys-
the fifth dimension, the fourth dimension is the manipulation of time. Is the the fourth dimension is the manipulation of time. Is the fifth dimension being able to like see time?
I think it's being able to see time like as a physical object. Yes, is the
Right.
because
Yeah,
she talks
through
about she's like
gravity,
they might
right.
see
Right.
time as like a valley that they can hop into and
Right.
jump
There's
out
one
of or
thing to
something.
like manipulate it, and then there's another thing to like
Well, I think
it's physical. I
yeah.
don't know. I was like
Be
Googling.
with
I'm
it,
like,
yeah.
what is the fourth?
And I
like,
mean, so
like
by the-
you see like a 4D movie. Like,
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean?
well, 4D means you're getting splashed with water and you're in it. That's what
The
you're
feel.
in.
Right.
So
But
I
I'm
think
like,
fourth
what is
dimension is
what is the actual like scientific definition of like the fourth dimension? It's pretty complex.
no, it's
not. It's not.
I
like,
mean, you get to some high, for sure,
it's
some
very
highbrow
high-
like theory and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But then, McConaughey drops off and we get the Tesseract scene where he's like within this physical representation of time, and it turns out he was the one who sent himself back and did everything for him. And like I thought that. What did you guys think about that reveal?
I was not expecting that at all. I mean, this is my first time watching, so I'm sure my mind's more
on
that-
cloud nine.
No, for
compared
sure.
to you guys.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, dude, what? And it was like the bookshelf within the bookshelf within the bookshelf. I'm like, dude, what? And he's seeing all these pieces of like, all the callbacks, which definitely way
Starts
better.
making the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. He starts doing the Morse code and the binary, and he's like, the dust comes in. He's like, oh, he goes, what does he say to Tars? He's like, send me the message, and he's tapping it through on the watch and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that is crazy, and that's the ultimate connection. Because like at first he just says stay, right? Thinking like, dude, it's pointless. Like I just missed the life of my
Don't
children.
go, yeah.
So and then. Turns out like he realizes that like he's the answer, like that could save, the world essentially. But I was fucking mind blown.
And I think it becomes clear in that moment that whatever these fifth dimensional beings are, they are
they're
humans from the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
not
Right.
aliens.
Yeah, and that is wild.
Yeah,
It's a
that
great
is
reveal.
always like, and it like, again, like just kind of like how Starfield does, like that game aesthetically fits with Interstellar.
You can see all the inspiration they took from Interstellar for sure.
Yeah,
and that's in general.
Like, and,
everything, yeah.
and the presence of alien species, as like something like Mass Effect or Star Trek, where they're like all over the place and there's tons of different species, really kind of like makes your sci-fi on a different level. But the absence of aliens really kind of keeps it more grounded, and you're able to kind of, I feel like, almost do more interesting things because like you don't have just like alien explainers. Like,
See, I would say it's just more interesting just because you don't get that often. Like
Right.
most of the, I think,
and it's like, oh, it's alien, and you're like, oh, okay, well, there's like walking like tentacle things
Exactly.
around, and people seem cool with that, so it's easily
Where-
understandable. But when there's not this presence of it, it's like, whoa, like what
you
could
can't
it be?
detach.
it's
yeah.
the more
Right.
it's the more realistic take of what our future is probably going to look like. Genuinely, like I mean, we could find
I
aliens
can't wait
whenever we
until
get
we
out to,
become
but like
fourth dimensional beings.
absolutely. But like I mean, just the fact that we can't see anything right now, anything from our
Statue
planet,
gets knocked over.
unless we're you ever hear of the zoo hypothesis? Like we're just a zoo for like that, or just we're just being like
Caged in.
and like looked and just observed, and they're just keeping all like the other stuff secret
Sorry,
from us.
I just knocked the mic.
It's all right. It's all right.
Despite all this rage, I'm just a rat in a cage.
That's true.
you know?
That is true. But, no, I think it really does separate it from things in a way that makes sense. And I think it makes even more sense back in like the 20, if you're in like 20, by the end, it's like 123 years later, or he's 123 by the end of the movie. So I think it's been like,
I think
60 years or 80 years.
24.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so just to explain also, we find out that we talked about how, Kane's character confesses earlier in the movie. He already figured out the data he needs, but the rest of it's all theoretical and you'd need to get it from a black hole. So McConaughey's like, all right, I want to save my fucking daughter. I'll go into the black hole. TARS gets the data. They send it through the watch. Bing, bang, boom. And then everyone just believes, what's her name, just figured it out. And no one believes that, like, he was actually her ghost
The one
or whatever.
doing it, yeah.
And again, I think that is a little weird because it's like he's back. He's like, it's
And he loves farming.
120. Yeah, he loves farming.
He does love farming.
He set up a whole new world, and I totally forgot about that by the end in the way of like, she's
then
like,
he
go to Brand.
Yeah, he goes back out. That's like a classic trope of like, the hero or whatever like comes back and then is like returned.
Job's not over.
Right, yeah, job's not over, or like this is all I know, so I'm gonna go back to it. Like, yeah, something like that. Pretty, stereotypical sort of idea.
Absolutely. And the scene with his daughter, like where he walks in, she's like, no parent should watch their kid die.
Yeah.
And then she's
Yeah,
like, listen, I got my family.
Yeah,
He's
and
like,
all
well,
these people.
And I love
Yeah.
how everyone does just kind of ignore him. They're like, okay.
I mean, I guess
everyone's
they don't
there.
really like,
I know they wouldn't know, but I'd be like, great grandpa. Like, or
Well,
grandpa.
it's funny when it's like, oh, this is Cooper Station. He's like, named after me, and he's like,
No, actually,
and the nurse
after
like
your daughter.
laughs,
Yeah.
like not just like no, it's named after you. Like they're not sincere about it at all.
Well, because
They're-
they think he just made it back through some weird thing, apparently, but they don't realize he fucking is one of the major
was a
reasons
key,
they're
yeah.
all doing this.
Oh yeah, true. Well,
Because they don't know. And because remember, Murph,
yeah.
they're like,
They
she's like,
don't
I tried
believe-
to tell
yeah.
him, but they never believed me.
And then they preserve his. I don't think they preserve his house.
They
but
rebuild it, I
They
think.
rebuild it
Yeah.
on Cooper Station, which is like interesting. Like they kind of like memorialize Murphy Cooper. Murph.
And yeah, I mean,
Great
anything-
film.
It's an
Great
amazing
film.
film. I think
And the colony at Edmund's Planet was
is happening. Yeah. So
yeah.
Brand makes it, and Cooper then takes one of their spacecrafts to go. to
but
her, which-
Edmunds is dead.
yeah.
looks
So I
like.
guess at this point they are in the new galaxy. Did they go through the wormhole, or is he back in
What,
in the Milky Way
in the station.
in the station?
The station's outside Saturn.
That's
Saturn,
right. So it's
yeah.
still they haven't gone through the Milky Way yet.
No.
Okay, or I'm sorry, through the wormhole yet. Amazing film. I really can't recommend it enough. We've spoiled it to high hell. So I mean, if you've been here,
I think it is. I think
Watch
it
it.
is Nolan's best film. Like I think it's better than Oppenheimer. Now that I've seen, I feel like Oppenheimer.
I like The Dark Knight too much.
See, like I can't like the Dark
They're
Knight
separated
is just such
for-
a league of its own, even though it's the same.
But that's
director.
again,
It's like,
but
it's hard to.
Yeah, I know, but I'd
fully
have
be
to
like,
put that
yeah.
on top for me. I think besides that, so far I loved The Prestige. I
that
don't
was
know
like
why.
just surprisingly like a fun movie.
It really was.
Yeah.
It's so good. But all right, gentlemen, want to get some fun facts?
Let her rip.
Alrighty. The robot characters, TARS and Case, were designed to be as scientifically accurate as possible. TARS, with its unique shape, was inspired by an actual NASA design for a space exploration robot. They were also practical puppets, like I said, in most of the scenes. All right. I thought this one was pretty interesting because we kind of see this now with the... and I mean, rear projection was always a thing, but with... the volume and everything. But to achieve the film's stunning visuals, I should say, cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema shot many of the scenes using projection screens instead of green screens. This approach allowed the actors to interact with the environment in a more realistic fashion. So, that's kind of what they do with like the... I totally forgot about it already.
Volume.
The volume and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, rear projection was always a big thing back in the day and stuff like that, so it's not crazy new. But I do think you can feel it. This film, I'm going to delete this. I like to delete them as I'm going so then I don't do multiple ones. The film contains numerous references to scientific literary works. For example, the names of the main characters, Cooper and Amelia Brand, are nods to two famous aerospace pioneers. Can you guess, Gooch? One of them? You already are reading it. I could see.
Well, the Amelia's easy.
Yeah.
Wait, one of them's named after Amelia Earhart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amelia Earhart and Gary Cooper. Aerospace pioneers, Gooch. One of the most important...
Wait, is Brand's first name Amelia?
That's...
Where's the...
Amelia Brand is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, Amelia Brand. Yeah, okay.
Alrighty.
Got it.
So I think he actually took some inspiration from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, like
With,
Tars,
for
like
sure, yeah.
feels like Hal.
So
Like absolutely,
for sure.
and especially like once he gets in the Tesseract
and the like
thing,
even the
space hole.
rotating like space thing, for sure. So
there's a lot of 2001 in this.
So to create the rotating spacecraft Endurance, they built a massive practical set that could rotate 360 degrees to simulate the effect of gravity. I mean, he did this with Inception too. With that, remember the fucking hallway scene where Jay Golo, he's in the
Jay
thing.
what? Who?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Joe Golo.
Don't call him that.
All right, well, Joe Golo goes through like a spinning
Don't call
hallway. And
I don't think he'd like that.
I've talked to him, and I don't know if he likes that.
That was dirty. Like,
What, Joe Golo? Why isn't that? That's just his name.
gross.
You got a text
I
from
get
him
what
right
you're
now, dude.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Joe. Nolan.
Where's he been?
I think this is pretty well.
Have him on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll have him on as a
man.
guest.
Who
I
am
think this
I,
is pretty
dude?
well known, but Nolan and his team worked closely with physicist Kip Thorne to ensure the film's scientific accuracy. The depiction of black holes, wormholes, and time dilation was obviously based on real scientific
another
principles.
Nolan movie with some like historical,
Scientific, I would say, more than
both probably more scientific than historical, but still like some historical relevancy and like
absolutely
spinning off of like the NASA stuff, especially in 2014 where NASA was like 2014.
People still hadn't seen a black
NASA
hole
was like
by now, really.
canned.
Yeah.
Remember NASA like stopped doing things for a while. Now they're back.
For sure, yeah, they definitely they got their funding cut a lot, and I mean even still today they don't have a ton. But
Right.
They did depict their depiction of the black hole, and this was I meant to find this one was like almost exactly correct. No one had ever seen one close enough to really like depict it, and there's a whole YouTube video on YouTube where Kip Thorne goes through it. It's wild. You should look it up because like at first they're like, yeah, this doesn't really look like what we thought, but if you actually turn it on its side and it literally looks almost exactly like what they depict
in the movie. Wow.
So it's pretty wild. I think you can definitely feel that like scientific accuracy in the film, and I think it goes a long way for it. So Christopher Nolan used original clips from the 2012 documentary by Kensburn, The Dust Bowl. The documentary inspired some of the early scenes in the movie too. So those scenes of people talking, that's a real documentary film.
That's what it's from.
Yeah, it's from the Dust Bowl. So that's what he used to inspire, obviously, like kind of what's going on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I kind of figured I'm like, he just
I kind of
Threw
thought.
that
Well,
in there,
it's funny.
yeah.
I thought the one girl was his daughter, and you just don't know it. That's talking at the
there
beginning.
is,
But it's apparently not her. That same actor.
Christopher Nolan's daughter is in this movie.
Is she?
There's somebody with their last name Nolan, and it's a girl.
Oh,
and it says
interesting. I missed
girl
it.
on something.
Oh, that makes sense. Like a little extra.
Yeah.
All right, and for the last one, rather than just making stuff up to create scenes depicting the wormhole and the black hole, the VFX team worked with Dr. Kip Thorne to create them as accurately as possible. He provided the team with full pages of theoretical equations explaining how these scientific phenomenon operate in real life, and the VFX artists created a new CGI software into which they could feed these equations and depict as realistic of a wormhole and black hole as possible. Pretty wild.
Pretty
cool stuff.
dedicated.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that wraps us up for Interstellar, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Mid-tier film, low-tier film, high-tier film.
I love it.
A film, nonetheless.
Easily.
Oh, at least a film, yeah.
Guys, if you've been not watching live on twitch.tv/DelcoNerd, we greatly appreciate it. But you can watch live most podcasts. We don't record these live, but you can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. YouTube.com/DelcoNerd as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Those
all the
apps.
good ones.
Your favorite podcast service. We're probably on it. You can find us at Facebook.com/DelcoNerd, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Delco Nerds, including Threads as well. You can find all this information at www.delconerdnetwork.com. You can also email us at delconerds@gmail.com. Give us your thoughts, concerns, comments, whatever you want to tell us. Maybe you just want to tell us about your day. That would be weird, but
I mean, that's fine. You can also tell us how great we are. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just not on MySpace.
Yeah.
Right? You guys
no
don't have
MySpace.
Ah.
Yeah, no MySpace. Big missed
It's
out.
really
Poor
tough to
Tom.
get in there, man.
Yeah. Poor Tom. Poor Tom. Anyway, for Trio, for Aris, my name is Gooch. We'll see you next time. Stay nerdy.
Follow the boys.
Follow the boys.